Terry, thanks for being with us today. Maybe my first question was more like general about how's the tower industry evolving in your region in Africa, and what are the main challenges you're facing at the moment?
Okay, thanks. Well, I think what we're seeing is a rationalisation. We've had a land grab. We're now having everybody getting hold of the assets that they bought and making them work more efficiently, and that's after all what we're all about. And you're starting to see some in-market consolidation. For example, this year Eaton Towers sold its South Africa business. We were a small player there. We couldn't see a route to becoming a big player. There was a big player there, America Tower, so we decided to sell there and reinvest in other markets. And those other markets, we're a stronger player, and I think that's an example of the sort of rationalisation of investment that you're seeing.
Okay, so the idea is also to consolidate a few markets you already have presence, as you said. So I imagine you, most of your strategy will be, or part of your strategy will be to screen new opportunities from both like divestment of telecom infrastructure and also perhaps consolidation acquisitions of other pre-existing tower codes?
Yes, that's right. I think what we're seeing is there are still some attractive new opportunities. I mean, we've tried for a while to get into Egypt, for example, which is a very big market and a very attractive market, and we'll keep trying that. But you're also seeing consolidation amongst our customers, and some of their ownership is changing hands, and that means, again, for the tower companies, we've got to look to potential consolidations in markets as well. Because in the end, it's just about efficiency. You know, if you can be more efficient, being the leading tower company or sometimes the only tower company, doesn't mean you're a monopoly, because the operators have been building their own towers for 20 years. They can still do so if they want to. But if you can be more efficient in meeting their cost expectations, then that's what we'll continue to do, yes.
Okay. And so what does it involve to be a player in emerging regions such as Africa? I'm thinking, for instance, about energy. Is this a real issue or something where Eaton is like strongly investing to anticipate and in any
Yeah, I think the biggest single differentiator actually about Africa is that most of my business is about power and energy. It's not about finding a socket in the wall to plug it into. It's about operating off-grid. It's about operating with very limited electricity availability, so there's a high dependence on diesel and generators and so on, and therefore on the oil price. Now, what we're all doing to overcome that is looking at innovative power solutions, whether that's solar, whether it's hybrid batteries and so on. So there's no one single solution, but there's lots of small things that we're investing in, again, to drive down the cost of our offering to customers, which then means they can expand further to serve the end user customer.
Great. So I don't know what your plans for like or medium long term, if you've got enough equity at the moment, or if there's maybe an IPO plan in the future. And we know, like, obviously IHS is working on such plan. I don't know if Eaton has any similar will.
Okay, well, Eaton Towers is, as you say, private equity owned, and the majority owner is Capital Group, a very big private equity player. We're not under any particular pressure to do an exit. They've been an investor for a while, but they have a long-term outlook. But I think at some stage it's going to make sense, as I say, under this sort of consolidation trend that I mentioned, either for trade sales, and you've seen some of that in particular markets in Nigeria and in South Africa, or maybe a continent-wide merger or trade sale. And yes, you will see attempts at IPO. Now, you know, the European attempts at IPO have been a little challenging this year. Some have succeeded and some haven't. So I think there's always that concern about market conditions. And, you know, we are in uncertain times. So we'll continue doing what we do, which is running the business as efficiently as possible. The shareholders will decide when it's time for them to change.
Okay. And finally, so you're of course, like, we're very pleased to welcome you often at our conferences. So what makes you come every time? What are you after when you come at the Team to Finance conference?
Okay, well, you're always kind enough to invite me to speak, so that helps. Clearly it's just always a very efficient gathering of people, both to hear from the platforms and in the networking sector, the coffees and dinners and so on. In many cases, it's catching up with people you see maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but they're always coming to the conferences, so that's great. They'll be here and you can plan to meet up.
Great. Terry, thank you very much for being with us today.
Okay, you're welcome.